If you're buying in Toronto in 2026 and you've been Googling the same questions over and over, this video is for you. The top 5 most searched Toronto real estate questions answered in order from least to most important. And number 1 is the question over 100,000 GTA buyers are asking right now and nobody's giving them a straight answer on. Let's fix that. My name's Jordan Abrams, 9 years helping people buy and sell in the GTA. All my info's down below. Let's get into the video. Question number 5. What's the double land transfer tax and how much does it actually cost? So Toronto is the only city in Ontario where you pay 2 land transfer taxes. You pay a provincial one and municipal. So on $1 million purchase, a provincial land transfer tax would be about $16,000. And then you also pay a municipal tax on top of that of another $16,000. If you're buying outside Toronto city limits, like in Mississauga or Brampton or Vaughan, you're only paying 1 land transfer tax. So that's a huge savings. So yeah, on $1 million purchase, just over $16,000. On a $750,000 purchase, your total land transfer tax in Toronto is just around $23,000. And on a $500,000 purchase, about $14,000. And if you're buying outside Toronto, you can cut that number in half essentially to figure out your land transfer tax costs. There's a really good Rate Hub mortgage and total purchasing cost calculator I use all the time. I tell my clients to use it. So I'll put a link to that in the video description down below. It's a great way. You put in all your numbers, your purchase price, how much you're putting down, your anticipated mortgage rate. And then it's going to spit out all the numbers for you, estimated legal costs, land transfer tax if you're in Toronto or outside Toronto. So it's a really great tool to get an idea and that total number of everything you need to purchase a new property. Another thing to keep in mind is that first-time buyers get a rebate of up to $4,000 on the provincial land transfer tax and up to $4,475 on the city tax. So you can get almost $8,500 back, which really helps when, for 99% of people, and for myself as well, was the biggest purchase you're making by far up to that point in your life. So any extra money you can get back from a rebate or anything else really goes a long way. Question number 4, condo versus house. In the summer of 2026 in the GTA, what's the better buy right now? Well, to be honest, it really depends on your situation. Both markets have crashed quite a lot from the peak prices of 2022. Condos are down about 20%, whereas detached homes and semis aren't down quite that much, but they're still down quite a lot. In my 10 years as an agent in the GTA, most of the time the market was firmly in seller's market territory. So we would see things like multiple offers, bidding wars, things that made it a lot more difficult as a buyer. You would have to essentially be ready to put in an unconditional offer on a home right away. And even if you did that at the listed price, there'd still be likely other people you're competing with, or there'd be people that would go way above the listing price and buy the house. So in contrast to that, right now, this is a very buyer-favored market. You can take your time, you can find the right home, you can get your conditions in there, which is really important. I always recommend a home inspection clause whenever you can, getting a financing clause in so you can make sure your financing is secure and you're not worried about that. It's just a lot easier for buyers to take their time, make sure they're not making a rash decision, and getting the home that they're actually going to live in for a long time and really enjoy. So that's all information that applies to both homes and condos. I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to your lifestyle. You know, if you're a single young professional and you want to be, let's say, downtown where most of the condos are, then a condo might make more sense for you. If you're a family and you need the space and, you know, you want to have a backyard, if you have a dog or you're growing a family with kids, then a detached or a semi might make more sense. Obviously, budget is probably the main constraint too. You know, condos you can get into right now for just about $400,000. I saw a 1-bedroom the other day in North York. Pretty good, like decent unit, and it's a pretty good unit and in a well-maintained building. Pretty good size for just about $400,000. And then you can get detached homes right now for under $1 million. Good quality homes, decently renovated, depending on the location you're in. So the main thing I would say is, and this will probably be my main takeaway for the video in general, is it's a big buyer's market. So just if you're thinking about buying and you're in a position to, the decision of buying a condo versus a house is a very personal one for your lifestyle. But I would just say if you do end up pulling the trigger and buying now, most likely you'll look back 5 to 10 years and realize it was a big buyer's market. It was a good time to buy. Just keep in mind that, going back into those sellers markets and being a buyer in that situation, when the market was like that, I used to have to take my laptop to showings and have to make offers for clients on the spot. Like, I remember I saw this one condo for these clients in Liberty Village. I had my laptop on me. We saw the unit, and literally within 10 minutes or so after the viewing, they decided that they wanted to buy it. So I pulled it out on the island in the unit and made up the offer. They signed it, we sent it, no conditions, and it got accepted. It's very different than how it is now, but that's just a little glimpse into what it was like before. All right, question number 3. How much do I need to earn to buy in Toronto in 2026? Again, like a lot of these, it's a very specific and personal question. There's a lot of variables that are involved. Your credit score, how much down payment you have, how much savings you have. If you're putting, more than 20% down, then you avoid the CMHC default insurance. If you're putting less than 20% down, you get CMHC insurance tacked on top of your mortgage. The way that works is it's just a percentage that gets added essentially to the principal of your mortgage if you put less than 20% down. So if we get into some more specifics, let's say you're looking at a $1 million home with 20% down at today's mortgage rates. Your monthly carrying costs are probably going to be about $5,200 to $5,500, including your mortgage, your property tax, your insurance. So you'd probably want a take-home income of around $200,000 to $240,000, which is obviously a high income, but that's just the reality of Toronto right now. But that's obviously with 20% down. So if we look, for instance, at a $700,000 house or condo with 10% down, your carrying costs go down quite a bit to just around $3,500 a month. So you probably want a household income of around $100,000 in that situation. If we look at a lower entry point, like a $500,000 condo, monthly carrying costs are probably going to be around $2,800 to $3,200, including all your maintenance fees and everything. And for that situation, I'd say you'd want to be making at least about $75,000, $80,000 a year. Now, obviously, like I was saying, there's a lot of variables here. I would recommend you check out that Rate Hub calculator again. I don't have any affiliation with them. I just find it to be a really useful free tool to see your expenses and everything. Your credit score really can affect the mortgage rate that you get. It can affect how much the bank will actually lend to you. So I would say the best first step, I always tell people, is go get pre-approved. Talk to a mortgage broker or go to the bank if you have a mortgage advisor there. See exactly how much they'll lend you. And then that gives you an idea of your maximum upper limit for what you can afford to buy. And you can kind of work backwards from there and land in a sweet spot where maybe you're not at your total max, but you land in a more comfortable position where you can get into a good place and be at that, 2/3 gross income for your property. There's also new 30-year amortizations for first-time buyers, which helps a bit. Previously, you had to put 20% down to qualify for a 30-year amortization. Otherwise, it was 25 years. So, now that does lower your monthly payment by about 10% versus a 25-year amortization. What amortization means is it's just the anticipated period that you'll pay off your mortgage in. So if you amortize your mortgage over 25 years and you look at what the monthly or weekly payments, whatever you choose, the way that works is the calculator is saying, okay, if you make this payment for 25 years or 30 years, your mortgage balance will get to zero. And if you're thinking about buying or selling in today's market, book a free consultation with me in the link in the video description. I personally get back to everyone And all my contact info is also on screen right now. So you can text me, you can email me, whatever works best, and I'll do my best to help you out. All right, so 3 questions down and 2 left. And these are the ones I get asked most in client meetings. Number 2 is something you've probably seen headlines about. And number 1, that's the one that actually determines whether or not you can buy in Toronto in 2026. Question number 2, is the Toronto condo market crashing? Well, in my opinion, it's already crashed significantly. You know, we're down more than 20% on condo prices from the 2022 peak. What caused this was developers flooding the market with these really small, impractical units, you know, 1-bedroom and bachelor units specifically that were under 500 square feet, really wacky, unlivable layouts, and getting up to unaffordable price per square foot amounts. We saw some cases where new developments were pushing up to about $1,700, $1,800 a square foot, which is not sustainable. And we saw that with this big correction. So nowadays you can get downtown condos for $800 a square foot, $900 in some cases. So a huge difference from where we were then. These bad units flooded the market, especially during COVID when people were really looking for more space and wanted a balcony. I personally was in a unit without a balcony during COVID and can tell you it was getting pretty cramped. But that really opened buyers' eyes to just how bad these condos were. And so what we're left with now in 2026 is just an oversupply of a lot of bad units out there. Now, mixed in with those bad units, there's also some really great units. I personally really love older buildings, something at least 5-10 years old. You can get an idea of how their maintenance fees are increasing year over year. You can see how they're managing the building. You also get more space. You get more practical layouts. You don't get these weird line kitchens without anywhere to cook or prep. You generally get like a breakfast bar area, a longer living room, a good sized bedroom where you can fit a king or queen bed. So I just would say the market has crashed already, which is good if you're looking to buy, because in Toronto, these buying opportunities and these buyers markets don't come along too often, and they usually don't stay for nearly as long as people expect them to. So if you're looking to buy right now, focus on older buildings for a condo, look for a good layout, make sure the maintenance fees aren't going crazy, and you can find some really great options in older resale condos right now. So supply is at an all-time high right now in the summer of 2026. It still is a bit tough as an investor trying to make sure you are in the green every month if you're buying a condo and renting it out. But what I would say is buying it, renting it, and holding it for the longer term is probably the smarter move right now, and then counting on that equity over time to make up for your investment. So now the number 1 question over 100,000 GTA buyers are asking, should I wait or should I buy right now in Toronto in 2026? So if you're in a position to buy, like I've been saying throughout the video, now is certainly a good time to do that. Markets are down across the board, whether you're looking at condos, detached, semis, townhomes, and historically the markets don't stay down like this for very long. It's also rare that you can find entry points of 1-bedroom condos for just about $400,000, and then really quality, nice detached homes for under $1 million. So for buyers, the simple answer is, if you're in a position to buy, it's definitely a good time. If your finances are ready, you know, get out there and start looking. I always tell clients early on, it's good to, even if let's say you're 6 months out or you think you're a year out, sometimes it's good to just book some showings, go and actually see the units in person. That gives you a really good idea of what your actual budget will get you. And I can tell you from experience, a really common thing that happens is buyers see a beautiful condo or a house online, and then they go in person and they're like, wait, this looks totally different. You know, they use wide angle lenses or fisheye lenses to make everything look bigger. And there's AI editing of photos now or virtual staging. So if you're early on in the process, book some showings, get out there and see some places. I'm happy to do that for you. If you want as well, reach out to me directly. My contact's on screen right now. But it really helps to actually see what that dollar figure gets you. And just to be honest, a lot of times what ends up happening is you're thinking with your wallet at first, obviously, and you're trying to save that money. But a lot of times people start looking and they realize, my budget was $500,000, but look at these amazing options for $600,000. And there's a real thing that happens where you start creeping up in price because you realize that the more you pay actually does get you nicer places. So just a quick summary. It's an amazing time to be a buyer in 2026 in the summer in the buyer's market in Toronto. And these were the top 5 most searched questions, so I hope that helped you out. But it really is just about making sure it's the right time for you. Again, use that Rate Hub calculator. Reach out to me with any questions. Put your comments down below. I get back to all the comments as well with questions. Do your homework, take your time, and find that perfect home for you, because right now you really have so many options and no one's rushing you. You can make sure you get the proper home for you and your family. If this video helped at all, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. New Toronto real estate videos every Tuesday and Friday. My name's Jordan Abrams. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you around town.